So we're going to be going with a short haircut for this mannequin. Right now I'm spraying in my 25 spray, which literally is one of my top selling products. 25 benefits. It's amazing for a leave-in treatment if you're cutting hair, if you're a hairstylist. It's an awesome kind of cutting lotion. If you are a consumer, it's an awesome spray to keep your hair in really, really great condition. And as a pre-styler, so what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to comb through the hair. And what I suggest, right, and this is probably going to be geared a little more towards professionals because I'm going to be using more technical terms for stylists. If you are starting your haircut, what I always do is I map out the haircut first. I say, how am I going to do this? Where am I going to cut it? Where am I going to part it? Like, I start to create that roadmap right from the very, very start. And for this particular haircut, I want to go pretty short all the way around, but I want to also make it very kind of soft and feminine and cute and fun and something that is very wearable. The parting is not going to be super, super severe, but it is always good when you're starting your haircuts to get a feel for how the hair flows, how it moves around. So right now at this point, I'm just going to get this hair out of the way, and we'll probably end up not even having a part, to be honest with you. This is going to be a step-by-step haircut, which means you got me for the entire tutorial. And I apologize in advance because I may have a few bad jokes, right? I'm notorious for my bad jokes. My goal today is to be even Steven, not uneven Steven, okay? Even Steven, that's the goal of the haircut today, but we're gonna have some fun. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm looking at this mannequin for the hair texture. This is a relatively straight-haired mannequin, so we should have no problems whatsoever when it comes to creating this shape. So we're going to go fairly short throughout the back here. I do want to create somewhat of a shape that follows the head, so we're going to go with a bit more of a rounded shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually start, let me lower this a little bit here, I'm going to start my guide right in through this area. And what I like to do a lot of times is I will initially section the hair with the wide teeth, and then I'll switch to the fine teeth. I do sell these combs on my website. These are the combs I use. These are also the scissors that I use. These are custom-made shears that were made for me that I really enjoy. They're 7-inch shears, so I've learned that to me the 7-inch is a great length to do a lot of, whether doing men's haircuts, scissor over comb, you want a lot of control in the hair, so I do sell these on my website. If you do use code YouTube20 on my shop, you get 20% off, and that's an exclusive deal for everyone on YouTube. So what I'm doing is I'm starting right here in the back of the head. I've got my section locked in place, and I'm just cutting straight up, all right? That is my first section right there. I'm going to follow around the head shape right in through here, just to the corners, okay? So we are doing this relatively, a shorter haircut. This can be done in a variety of different ways, but the goal is to make sure we're following the pattern, the growth pattern, the head shape. Even though we are going a bit short, I do want to make this soft and very, very easy to wear. So the goal with haircuts, right, especially when it comes to women's hair, or any haircut in general, is my goal is to make sure that it's very user-friendly, which means that the client can go back home and they can duplicate this haircut, okay? As far as the hairstyle goes. Not duplicate the haircut, but duplicate how I styled it, which means that however I'm doing it, they should be able to go home and easily do it. I also cut hair to grow out. If there's anybody watching who knows me, who maybe even had their haircut done by myself, or have watched my videos, the key is to make sure that you're getting a haircut that grows out well. And if you are a client, right, if you are a client and you have been going to get your hair cut from the same person or whoever it is for many, many years, and you're always saying to yourself, my hair always grows out looking horrible. Well, I hate to say it, but that starts from the haircut, right? It starts from the very, very beginning. So whoever's cutting your hair needs to have that same approach, which is when the hair grows out, it needs to lay properly, it needs to have a good flow, right? It needs to really look and have a shape even as it grows out. And that is why, right, people like myself and other talented stylists can charge a higher haircut price, okay? Because they, you know, we know what we're putting into the haircut, we know what we're doing. We know that, like, yeah, I'm cutting this so it does grow out in a certain way. And that really is essential, okay? It's really, really essential. So now I'm getting close to the bottom, right? The bottom of the nape area right here. And at some point, as you can see, I'm coming over the top this way. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna need to switch because my hand positioning can only go so far down, and I'm gonna put my body in a very uncomfortable situation. Now, I've seen, and I'm sure we've all seen, hairstylists who do the entire haircut where they're coming over the top. To me, it just, like, even right now, doing that makes me like, my back is killing me already, okay? So you wanna make sure that you are putting yourself in a situation where you're not gonna be in pain while you're cutting hair, right? And you're also able to create the look that you want in a much easier flowing body position, okay? Like this. This is as far, right, in through this corner right in through here as I'm gonna go. So as you start to feel a little bit uncomfortable or you're starting to get those pains, it's time to now switch up the body positioning. And now, once again, I'm going with the fine teeth of the comb, and I'm going to cut palm to palm. Palm to palm also allows you to get much closer to the scalp, okay? It allows you to get really, really tight in through, close to the head when you're cutting, right? It's a very classic technique, very classic hand positioning, and it's great to use. Just keep in mind that you still have other elements of the haircut, other sections that you have to go back to, because what happens is you may cut palm to palm, and look, even down here, we're leaving all this length. There's still a lot of length. We haven't cut, if you noticed, I didn't do any actual length haircuts, right? I just went in and I started with the layering. I wanted to get the shape out of the way first. I wanted to create that, you know, the head shape in the back here and the actual style before I went in and cut the length. And that's a lot of us tend to go in and cut the length first, and that's something that I usually, you know, it really depends on the haircut, right? And it's not to say that there's a right or a wrong, or you have to start in the back, like top back, or you have to start in the bottom. There's no, like, you know, there are guidelines and rules that I would follow just to help with the execution of the haircut. But it doesn't mean it's absolutely necessary and that you have to do it, okay? So here, right, let's get this out of the way. Here we have the bottom, right? The entire bottom right here. Again, like I said, I haven't cut the length at all. So what I want to do is I'm going to just cut one length right in through here. I'm going to comb it all straight down. And there's a few different ways to approach this, okay? The first one is you can literally just do what I'm doing. Create a blunt, kind of solid line throughout the back here. You're cleaning up and strengthening up that line, the foundation of the haircut, like so. And what that means is, yes, we have a nice kind of even back here. And then what we can do is build upon that. So we'll go back, and if there is any sort of hair that is a bit heavy, then we can just simply go in, and there's the length right there in the bottom. So now what we can do is go and work off of that. And that's what I like to do if I'm going from the top to the bottom, right? And then another thing we can do is, you know, cross-check. So I'm going to start to comb the hair and cut it in all different angles and different ways, because what that's going to do is that literally is going to move the hair around in a variety of different ways, okay? It's going to move the hair, it's going to shape the hair, it's going to, I'm going to see how the hair's moving around a little bit, and that just literally tells me and shows me what needs to be cut. Because if you're doing this and like the hair is jumping all over the place, or it's reacting differently, or it's not, flowing how you want it to, something's going on with the haircut. Okay, something is going on with the haircut, which means you then have to go back and fix it. All right, so my goal with this is to have a little bit of length down through here, right? A little bit of like some texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to comb everything straight out, and I'm going to cut horizontally. And that simply is just checking the balance. That's all I'm doing right now, is checking the balance of the haircut to make sure that we are even Steven, right? And now notice I didn't do the entire haircut this way, but I'm just using this to cross-check. Cross-checking is something that can be depressing, especially if you keep coming across a lot of pieces and sections that are a bit uneven. So it can be depressing, but what it does do is it makes you better, but it's also putting that guarantee into the haircut. And going above and beyond to do this really is what's going to make the difference with your haircut, right? And that is what is going to allow for the hair to grow out much better. So now we have to move on to the next phase of this haircut, and that is connecting this into this. And I know this could be a bit scary, but I'm going to show you a technique that I use that is going to really help. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to a section forward. I'm not going to comb this straight up and cut it. That's not how I'm going to blend this into this, because in my experience, what happens is if you do that, you're going to create a harsh line right here in that first layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the fine teeth of the comb once again. I'm going to go right down the middle, and here is the guide from where I first cut it, and I'm going to cut straight across, right? As you can see, I'm going towards the face this way, and what I'm doing is I'm literally connecting the back into the top. And that, to me, has been a really great way of connecting, right? Because what we're trying to do is we're not trying to build any sort of weight lines right in through here, at least I'm not. So we need to create a soft blend. And to me, this is an ideal way to go about doing that, right? Everything, all like the haircuts are really about having a soft flow to them. So now we are fully connected from the back into the top. We've got our section through here, so we can leave the past behind us, and we can move forward, and we can create horizontal sections, just like this, going straight down the middle, right? Right down the middle. And we're cutting kind of what I call like the mohawk section. And it's kind of like home free at this point, right? We're home free because we can work towards the face. And what we're doing is we're setting ourselves up for the rest of the haircut. Now, notice what happens if you drop your arm down. You have a tendency to kind of come this way. If you're too high this way, you're going to be layering the hair. So you want to keep your elbow fairly perpendicular to the section, right? That's why it's body positioning, arm positioning is really important. There may be times where I'm trying to put myself in a different body position simply because of filming and I want you all to see it, but that may be the only reason why I end up doing, changing my body position. I'm also taking sections that are just the right section and thickness, because if I take a section that is too thick, then what's going to happen is I'm not able to see my guide, and then also it's not going to lay properly, all right? So we are going to come back to the front area right into here, which I do all the time, right? I always cut this part, and then now we're going to work on the corners and the sides. So we've got the top, corners, and the sides. Very, very important to remember when cutting hair, okay? And if you follow this pattern, right? If you follow this pattern of rounding everything out to the head shape, or not even a rounding, just following the head shape, right? But most people, their head is round. So what I like to do is just continue that and continue that shape while I'm cutting. And believe it or not, that is what helps the hair grow out really well. And that is what really, helps you find the ideal haircut for that customer. So we've got this now, the corners are done. I haven't mentioned the sides yet. This isn't the side. This is the true side right in through here, this area in there. Now, if you wanted to be a little, have a little fun, be a little bit edgy, you can have like a shag like this, right? And you can leave the length. It's not uncommon to see people have these types of haircuts where all this length is left in through here. It's very, very edgy, right? I'm not going to do that for this haircut, but it's not something that is uncommon, okay? I've seen it before, and it could be a cool look. We are going to leave a little bit of softness, right? But nothing too crazy. I'm not looking to have like super long, crazy sideburns or anything. I do want to have a bit more of a softer, tapered look. So as you can see now, I cut all this off, and we have much more of a softer type of look in through here. Now, if you want to go back in and change this up a bit, right? This is where the connecting, this is where the taking out the weight, all that comes into play here. We can also, go back in and do some dry cutting or, finish off like whatever you're looking to do when it's dry. I always do all that, like the texturizing, the dry cutting. I do a lot of that stuff once the haircut is done, right? I do all that once the haircut is finished, dry, then I can kind of see the shape. But this is something exactly what I'm looking for. It's kind of a flippy, messy, textured pixie cut. And I think this is going to be a big hair trend for women who have shorter hair, right? So now let's work on this side and through here. So we're going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to comb the hair first. I always like to comb the hair first to get like the knots out, because a lot of times the hair will knot up. So if you're combing it with the fine teeth and it's longer, so I'll start with the wide teeth of the comb. There we go. This is a little trick right here, pushing it on your chest just to flip it. And now I'm going to cut right there, all right? So we're working on the corner, all right? This is the corner of the head right in through here. Top, corner, sides. And if you follow this pattern, to me, honestly, it's going to keep you much more organized. Now it's time to go into the bottom, like we just did on the other side, and there you'll see your guide. There you'll see the length, and you should be good to go. Now what is going to happen is when you're cutting this, you are going to have some excess length throughout the bottom, right? Depending on how you cut it. But that's why I like to cut the length and then go back in and then go shorter. So I'm working my way upwards now. We've got a little straggler. We just cut that off. And don't be afraid if you find stragglers. It's totally cool. All right, so now let's take a look at what we have here with the excess length throughout the bottom. There it is. And now I'm going to go into the blending phase. I'm going to go into the texturizing phase. This is where everything really comes together, all right? And this is where we have a little bit more fun, and we can really like create that awesome shape. Also, keep in mind, look at that corner piece right there. Do you see all that, right? There's always hidden pieces, there are hidden hairs that are stuck somewhere, or they're hiding out going, I don't want to be cut yet, no. And then you go, time to go. and then you set them free, right? So we're setting the hairs free right now that are just kind of hanging around that don't belong there. And that's what's important, is that the hair doesn't belong, right, in that spot, because it's not part of the haircut. So what I'm doing now is I'm literally just going into the haircut section by section. I'm holding everything horizontally to make sure we have good balance. And I tend to be a bit like aggressive with this, because being aggressive with it really helps with the shape, okay? It really helps with the shape, it helps with the cross-checking, and now we're stuck with this front here. So a few things that we can do, okay? What I like to do at this point in the haircut is I like to kind of analyze how things are looking. So if I see some areas that are a little bit too long for me, then I'll go back and I'll say, you know what, this is too long, I don't like this. Let's trim this up a bit. Let's shorten this here, let's texturize it there. You know, and that's the whole fun of when you're cutting hair. You're able to do all of these types of looks, all right? And jump around from side to side, okay? Start on the right side, then go to the left side, you know, comb the hair in different directions. You wanna be in control of the haircut, right? You don't wanna let the haircut control you. You always wanna be in control. And that, I think, is what is going to help with your end result, and also the longevity of the haircut. Longevity is really, really important, because again, I want this haircut, if I was doing this on a person, to grow out really, really well. And all these extra steps that I'm putting into this haircut is going to ensure that, right? It's going to ensure that. And don't ever feel, this is why you book a little more time. Okay, you can't be doing this type of haircut in 15 minutes, right? You can maybe if you're like that amazing and you don't talk at all, but I say book a little more time, whether it's an hour and 15 minutes. Make sure you're charging appropriately, right? This type of haircut is not a $15 haircut and you're in and out in 15 minutes, okay? Definitely not that. So let's deal with the front here. All right, so we have a little bit of length in the front, but I feel, unfortunately, it's a little too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim that up right there, right? I'm going to leave a little bit of length right into the center, so it is going shorter to longer with a point right down the middle. Okay, this is what it should look like, is everything coming down to that middle right there. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this vertically, and I'm going to check and remove any sort of weight. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for weight. I'm looking for hairs that don't belong. You know, I'm trying to go through this, and this is another thing that really does help, and I say it puts the icing on the cake. It pulls the look together. It pulls the shape together. And if you do this, now this is also a great way to kind of check to see where you're at. If you're doing this and you have lots and lots of inconsistencies in the haircut, well, there may be a little bit of an issue, okay? There's got to be something going on that's causing that. And that's what needs to be fixed and addressed. Because if it's really, 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 really uneven, right? Or you're getting like lots of sections when you comb up the hair, and you're seeing like pieces that are like an inch longer and everything else, that is when you could have a bit of a problem, okay? Where do we go from here? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry the hair, right? I'm going to dry the mannequin's head, and then we're going to see what the shape looks like. Then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to use my thinning shear and whatever I need to do to finish shaping this. So we've already got the 25 spray in it, and this is the type of haircut that literally does most of the work. You won't really need a whole lot of product for this, but this is something that, again, like I mentioned, being user-friendly, you want to be able to just use your hands to mess it up, to get that texture, and be good to go. So you can wear this down if you want, right? I like to get a little more kind of the flips going on. I'm more of an edgier kind of guy. Like I do like seeing some movement and texture in the hair. So the flips don't necessarily bother me like this. But if you want to get rid of those, then no problem, okay? You can make this a classy haircut, very sophisticated, even though it's short. Doesn't mean it can't be sophisticated or elegant. But it could also be edgy and funky as well. And that's what's great about it. So that little bit of length we left into here is allowing us to be able to mold the hair and leave a little bit of softness throughout the front. So the front here, as you can see, I'm not using any brush whatsoever. I'm just using my hands, and we're going for like a really edgy kind of fun look. The way to get these pieces like this is just take your hand and like blow dry it up and rake it with your hands. That's the easiest way to get the hair to stick out. Let's make sure this is nice and smooth and straight into here. You can even do a bit of like a faux hawk or something. You know, you can kind of spike this up right into here. Yeah, this is a good length to do all sorts of like crazy haircuts. All right, so now what I'm going to do is take my thinning shear right into here. Let's soften this down a little bit. I'm going to take my thinning shear right here, and now we're going to start to twist and cut. And what this is doing, it's really removing a lot of excess bulk. I would not suggest doing this for somebody who's got like really curly, right? Really curly hair or wavy hair. This works best for thick hair. It works best for, you know, straight hair types, because what you don't want to do is create all sorts of weird, you know, you don't want to thin out and disrupt the curl pattern. So I like to make sure I'm doing these kind of twists and chunking techniques on hair that is on the thicker side. And also it's by feel, right? You're able to feel it as well. So if you go like this and you feel that the hair is thick, well, that's where the weight needs to be removed, okay? And also think of the end result as well. And look how much better that looks just being a bit more softened. Can you do it with a razor? I know there's a lot of people who like to use the feather razor, a lot of hairstyles. So what would you do in that situation? Well, just take it and rake it, right? Take it and kind of use the raking motion here, or the sliding motion, to get rid of any of that excess weight, okay? It's not, you know, I want to say it's not rocket science, but, you know, I think when you take the more aggressive approach to things like this, then it's going to help you out. Now, what you don't want to do is you can easily make this haircut look a bit outdated, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, like the retro haircuts and the kind of shag, there's totally nothing wrong with that. It's a haircut that I think is always going to be kind of in style. But what you don't want to do is, you know, cut it in a certain way that makes it look very outdated, okay? And that's why I think the softer looks like that is something that's going to be a bit more pleasing, right, to most people. So let's finish this off here. And the good thing about making this fringe soft in the front is that you can create that type of sweeping look, all right? And this is no products whatsoever. If you wanted to, you can, you know, tuck this behind the ear, right in through here if you want, right? And let's just raise this up so you can see. So let's spin this around. There you go. So here is the side, right? We've got some wispy pieces right in through here. You can tuck this behind the ear, like I mentioned, if you want, but for this situation, let's leave it a bit more on the wispier, edgier side. And then now we're coming in throughout the back here. There's the flips right into here. So literally you try to mess this up, and that's when it's going to look really, really good. Same thing on this side. And here we have it. And you can wear this in so many different ways. If you were to like really push this down, right, and soften it down, then that's one way. You can also flip it over the other way as well. You can actually create a bit of a you know, kind of soft fringe like this. Let's see here, right? You can kind of have like the curtain bangs where this all goes down towards kind of like the middle, right? And something a little bit like this, which is pretty cool. And that's what I'm saying. This type of haircut can really have a lot of different ways to have it styled. And yeah, I love this, man. If I saw somebody walk around with this haircut, I'd literally stop her and be like, your haircut is amazing, right? So that's it, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And watch my channel. I've got so many more videos like this that you can learn from.